Slabbing is a hand-building technique where clay is rolled out and can be cut into pieces and constructed to make a variety of forms. Using your palm or rolling pin, flatten the clay to a manageable thickness for rolling out. Remember to flatten the clay down incrementally. Don't hit the clay too hard as you don't want it to be thinner than your height sticks. A rolling pin is an easy way to roll out slabs and achieve an even thickness. In most instances, you will want to create a slab that is at least 1 centimeter thick. Thicker slabs are more sturdy and easier to work with. Using 2 hands, roll the rolling pin from the tops of your fingers to the bottom of your thumb. Why do you need to follow a strict method when rolling clay out? Large pieces of canvas or fabric are ideal for rolling out slabs on. When rolling out the clay, the slab should occasionally be rotated 90 degrees and flipped over to ensure the clay particles are spread out evenly. Hand building from slabs is a simple way to make a variety of different forms without the added cost or space requirement of using a potter's wheel. If your clay slab has an even thickness, your rolling pin will be touching the sticks on both sides as you are rolling. Furthermore, use your eyes. If it looks like the clay is being flattened, it probably is. The next tool you will use will be a rubber kidney. They are used as a throwing rib for smoothing and shaping clay surfaces, as a squeegee for applying transfers, and for pressing clay into press molds. To smooth and compress the rolled out clay, use a rubber kidney tool, working in different directions and taking care to maintain a consistent thickness. To avoid leaving marks in your slab when using a rubber kidney tool, slowly place it on the clay, and as you pull it off the clay, do it quickly. As you are smoothing the surface of your clay to remove the canvas texture, you are also compressing the clay. Compressing means pressing or squeezing together. Any cracks in the clay are being smoothed over by pressing the clay together to remove the gaps. The flexibility of soft slabs allows them to be folded or shaped. You can use soft slabs with hump and slump or press plaster molds. Gently place your press mold on top of your clay slab using your potter's knife to carefully cut around the shape. Be careful when using the potter's knife. Do not cut towards your fingers. Why is this a good idea? In pottery, press moulding refers to the process in which clay is forced into a mould to take on a certain shape. Press moulds can be used to reproduce large quantities of a specific type of ceramics. Cut a small slit that goes no further than the middle of the slab. This will allow you to start bending the slab so it fits into the mould. Using my potter's knife, I am cutting out the excess clay. When you have successfully pushed the clay fully into the mould, you will be able to feel the hard plaster, stopping you from pushing it downwards and outwards. Trim the edges and remove the excess clay. I am rotating the press mold as I cut, while simultaneously pushing the potter's knife downwards so it is being kept at an even level by the top of the press mould. To remove the clay from the press mould, we will need to shrink the size of the clay. Clay shrinks both during the drying process and the firing process. Shrinkage in the drying process occurs due to the loss of water layers. The finer the particle size of the clay, the more water layers, hence the more shrinkage. We want to dry the clay enough so the gap between the clay and the press mould starts to widen. You should only need to dry the clay for 1.5 minutes before the cupcake case has shrunk enough to fall out of the press mould with some gentle tapping. If you see any tiny bits of white plaster in your clay, carefully remove them with a small tool. If you do not smooth over the cracks in your sculpture before it goes into the kiln, it won't be able to be repaired when it is dried out. Remember to write your name and form at the bottom of your sculpture. If you can't write your whole name, shorten it down. Making coils can appear to be very easy, but if you are new to making clay coils, you might find it a bit tricky. If you spray your board with a small amount of water, it helps to keep your coils soft and moist. Your coils should be as thick as your pinky finger, but there can be some slight variation. If you roll your coils too thin, they will start to dry and crack. Why do you think the coils become dry and cracked as you roll them out with your hands? To begin making your coil sausage, use gentle, even squeezes and form your clay into a large round sausage shape with your hands. The firmer the clay, the harder you will need to squeeze. Roll the clay from your fingertips to your wrist, keeping your fingers spread open. Start at the middle with your hands closer together. As you move your hands further apart from each other as you are rolling, the coil will become longer as you are stretching the clay. To fix a thin section, roll the coil and move your hands closer together to push the clay in. My coil ended up being as wide as the wooden board I was rolling it out on. The next techniques we will need to learn are slipping, scoring and marrying. Using the tool you have been given, score the top of your cupcake case using the cross-hatching method. When scoring clay, more marks are better than less. Place one end of your coil sausage on your cupcake case and curve it into a circle shape. Keep placing the coils on top of each other, tapering them inwards to make a cone-shaped object. Using your clay tool, you can scrape the clay upwards and smooth the texture with your finger or your paintbrush and pot of slurry. By closing the gap between each coil layer on the inside, I am making the shape stronger and less likely to fall apart. I am also closing any gaps which would cause the shape to crack in the firing process. Once your shape has been scored, you need to slip it. This means adding a little bit of water onto the scoring to act as a glue. You do not necessarily need to use slurry to slip and score a marry. You can use water and a paintbrush or water and your fingertips. When you are slipping, wetter is better. The more water between the clay particles, the more they can slide around and intermingle when clay pieces are next to each other. The key is to make sure you fill in all the grooves so you create no air pockets. Some potters reverse this process, putting the water on first, then scoring through it, thereby cutting the slip into the clay as they do. When you're ready, firmly push the pieces together. Gently push the clay together with the tips of your fingers and the palms of your hands. Moving forward, I use smaller, soft pieces of clay to remove any obvious gaps. By filling out the small gaps between the coils, what does it do to the look of the cream? Finally, put your name and form on your complete sculpture.